Well, everybody, these rails are too far apart. This isn't 3-foot gauge. And if it's not 3-foot gauge, it means that we can have something big. Something really big. Some might even say it's a big boy. That's right. Today we were playing Train Simulator 2022, and we have the Union Pacific Railroad Big Boy add-on made by Smokebox, and this thing is just immaculate. It is, truly a beautiful model of this locomotive. And I know that I talk smack about the Big Boy all the time because people keep asking for it for Railroads Online, but I do think it is an impressive piece of engineering, and this is just a brilliant model of one. And we've got quite a lot of train behind us as well. Something like 4,000 tons worth. So, quite a bit larger than most of the Railroads Online numbers. But anyways, here we are in the cab. I've got the automatic fireman disabled, so we're gonna run this thing ourselves as best as we can here. But let's take a look around what we can see. There's a lot going on in here, and to someone who's never sat down in one of these things, it's a little bit overwhelming. It's a little bit overwhelming for me, and I've run steam, but the steam engines that I deal with don't have labels or lots of gauges. We have like one pressure gauge for the steam and 2 for air, and that's it. So let's talk about it. Having fiddled with some of the lighting here, we can see a little bit better and start to see what's going on here. So, important for the engineer. There's all this kinds of stuff around here, but what's really important? Well, here we have our power reverse. This is like your Johnson bar in Railroads Online, except it is pneumatically controlled, and it runs a cylinder on this side of the locomotive, this guy right here. I guess on a Big Boy there's 2, though, because you have 2 engine sets, but it adjusts the position of the radius rod. You can see that we're in forward because it is lower of the pivot right there. So we'll push that all the way forward. We have our independent brake here. We have our automatic brake right here. They call it engine brake and train brake, which is fine. A lot of people understand that. And then we have the throttle, this big fun thing here. And that's really 99% of what you really need as the engineer. These are your tricox, TRY tricox, to see what the water level in the boiler is at several different heights from the water column here. There's also water gauges that show it too, but these are a more accurate way to read what the water gauge says. Oh, I forgot about that very important thing. I'm so used to quilling whistles anymore that it's kind of a bummer that doesn't. Also important, you have a master cylinder cock control, and you have a cylinder cock valve to open and close your cylinder cocks, which are drains. On the underside, you can see all 6 of them here. I don't know why there's 6. Most engines I've run into have 4. Ooh, there's some F units going by. Very fun. Anyways, those open the cylinder drains so that we can make sure we don't suck water through our engine and break it. And then, those are the majority of the controls you use. You've also got multiple sanders with these valves here. You've got a live steam injector right here if you need to put water in the boiler for your fireman, but typically most of that's handled by the exhaust steam injector. Small engines will only have a live steam injector, but if you have an exhaust steam injector, what it means is that you take the water from the tender, run it through a big pump, and then heat it up in the smoke box before you put it in the boiler so you get better thermodynamic efficiency. Anyway, so hopefully we don't have to use this one too much. We could just use the big one that the fireman uses. And then we've got other cute little valves for the ding-ding. We've got first service position cock, which I'm not actually sure what that is. That is from a type of air brake that I've not gotten to run. That's probably because I think the Big Boy has 8 ET, and I've only run 6 ET, which is the type of brakes it has. Anyways, we have what is on the keys to the bathroom at the Railroad Museum. This is an override of the power reverse cylinder to make it run on steam rather than air, which some locomotives didn't have that, and it caused issues. We'll talk about that when we get on the road here. It's a good story. We have the sludge remover, which is some sort of Union Pacific steam blowy thing that they use to talk firemen to engineer when they're on the road. Ed Dickens could tell you more about that than I can. We've got our headlight control, so that would be a backup light. And apparently pushing it forward doesn't make it want to go forward in game. You have to push it right. And we've got some more light switches above the engineer's head. Oh, look at that. And we've got a cute little cab light. We've got our paperwork. Very good. So, there's not much for the engineer to do over here. But there's plenty of more valves, you say. Well, what are all these? Well, they're all important, but you don't really need them while you're running so much. You've got the actual blowdowns for the water glasses, and on the big boy there's 2 water glasses per side because the boiler's so long, the water sloshes so far. So you can see that the water gets escaped out, and then steam would be drained out the bottom of the cab when you blow or open these, so that you can clear any junk outside of the sight glass to make sure that you're getting an accurate reading. You have the same thing on the water column. Blow off, cock, shut off. You've got a shut off valve on the big boy for your blowdowns, which is hilarious. We don't have that in the narrow gauge land. Let's see. Starting valve for the dynamo that supplies the electricity. We'll leave that on. There's lots of starting valves for those types of things, like the air compressor and whatnot. Steam heat for the train behind you, if it's equipped with steam heat, if you're pulling a passenger train. Again, your blowdowns and your water column blowdown, all important to use at least once a day when you're steaming up, and then sometimes various while running, but you don't have to do much. They've modeled an old signal foam meter to make sure that your steam's not foaming, and that's not talking about children on the side of the tracks with cameras. That's talking about a bad boiling condition where you can get lots of bubbles, which looks like foam and causes all kinds of awful problems for you when you're out on the road. And they've got a valve to do something in the ash pan. This is a big boy thing. That is a big standard gauge thing that is very bougie for what I'm used to. So, and one of my favorite things about this is that we have a pretty faithful attempt at a firing simulation in this, where you can actually see the whole fire bed, and you can see the circulator tubes that run side to side in the firebox. God, this is so cool. And so there's a bunch of smoke in there right now because there's no draft. So we can grab the blower and we can turn the blower on, and then the fire gets intense, and then the smoke goes away. I mean, it's just awesome. Nobody bothers with that. It's so cool. That's my favorite thing about this, and why I love, I don't really care for train simulators, but the fact that someone did a good job simulating firing just gets me so freaking excited. So let's talk about some fireman controls, shall we? It looks like they have water controls or steam controls to blow out the ash pan. That's what probably all these are. We just do it with an air wand on the narrow gauge, so we don't get anything that fun. We have a stoker booster to increase the pressure going to the stoker, which is there. We have the main stoker control, or the jet table control, I guess, up here, because the stoker is basically a screw that runs from the tender underneath here up into the back of the firebox. And then there's an elevator screw that elevates it to a table that we actually can't see, probably because we can't get close enough. I'm sure Smokebox probably modeled it. But then there's a bunch of steam jets on that table, and that's what all these valves are for, all these guys. It blows the coal into these different chunks, basically, or bits of the firebox. So your left side, right sides, the back, the front, so your corners and the overall center. So you have to adjust based on how much coal is going where, and if you're piling up coal anywhere, you have to send more coal to one place or another to maintain an even fire. And that's how you adjust all that without using a shovel. And then we've got the stoker operating valve, which starts the mechanical piece of it. And, it's an actual engine that runs it, basically. And then this is for the jets of the steam table, and we've got a pressure gauge that shows that. Blower is a forced draft for the fire. So you can see, if you're not moving, sometimes if you need to build pressure, You like to have a little blower going to keep the draft going through the fire so the fire doesn't die back. And then we have the starting handle for the exhaust steam injector, which you just heard when I pulled that. But if we have exhaust pressure up front, it'll use that to start to put water into the boiler. And then we have a metering flow valve for how much flow we're getting into the boiler based on that. So if we need a lot more water, we'll open this wide open. If we just need to maintain, we'll be a bit closer down to the closed position, because we got to maintain our water level. And right now we got about a half glass in the primary sight glass, which is pretty good. We're pretty happy with that. This is a hydrostatic lubricator for the air pumps. We don't need to mess with it in the simulator because we don't care. We got smoke lifter. Oh, I think this is the... I'm not sure what that is, actually. I know that on the big boys they had like smoke diverting hoods, and I'm not sure what that is. Like I said, I've never actually been in the cab of a big boy. I've seen plenty of them, but I've not gotten to like go in and look at all the things. So I don't know, and I've certainly not been in the one underneath. Oh, and this is hilarious. So you have a pedal on the floor somewhere. I'm not sure where it is actually, that you step on to open the fire door, and there's a valve to shut it off. So if your engineer hates you, you can turn that off while you're not looking if you're shoveling coal by hand. And then you step on the pedal, nothing happens, and you throw the coal all over the back head instead of into the firebox. And then the engineer gets beat to death with the shovel, so, it doesn't work for that long. But that's pretty much most of the controls throughout all of the cab on a big boy, which is a lot, I know. But you realize that you don't mess with most of them. I mean, the engineer, you play with your Johnson bar, you play with your throttle, brakes, maybe sand if you need it. Fireman, you're just regulating where the coal goes, how much coal's going in, how much water's going in. And then the rest is to tell you kind of what you're looking at. So we've got a steam pressure gauge, we've got the exhaust injector pressure gauge, see how much exhaust pressure we have, how much stoker pressure we have, how fast the stoker's running. Steam heat, if we're supplying any to the train behind us. And then over the engineer side, again, we got a duplicate boiler pressure gauge because this thing's so big it needs two of them. We have our automatic air brake gauge and our... actually, I'm not sure which one's which on these. This is too fancy for me. One's automatic, one's independent. I suppose we could see real easy if I kick the brake off. Okay, the left one's the independent brake. Red needle's the independent brake. This is going to be our brake pipe then in the white. Oh, it even says that. That's very neat. Red's the brake cylinder for the independent. And then your equalizing reservoir, which is actually what reduces when you operate the valve here. And then the brake pipe tries to mimic what it does. And then your main reservoir, which you always want to be up there. If your main reservoir starts going down here, you have a bad day, which is tied into this guy in that story I was hinting at. So we'll get there. And the last thing is the back pressure gauge. And this shows you how much pressure you actually have in the cylinders, so you know that if the engine's working without needing to listen to it. So if that wasn't enough of a steam engine crash course in a couple minutes, I guess we'll get this thing out on the road. So I'm going to try and fire it and run it, and I'm going to use the F5 menu with the context of steam generation and usage, just because I think it's a little difficult to try and do both at the same time without that. So we're going to try that and see what happens here. So let's go, folks. All right, so we're going to kick off our brake. And our automatic is in release. Our cylinder cock master is open. Our cylinder cocks are open. We're in forwards. I'm going to start coming out on the throttle. Okay, we can see that we got steam coming out the cylinder cocks. Starting to move. You can see we're not developing any cylinder back pressure really though, because we're not using that much pressure, and we must have just pulled the slack out of the train. So let's keep coming out on it. All right, so we're starting to draft the fire. So we're gonna let that do what it's doing, but we haven't cleared the smoke out the box yet. Now we have. All right, so we better start feeding it some coal. So we're going to open up the stoker operating valve all the way. Oh, I guess we don't need it all the way because it is a speed control too. We'll turn on the jets, and we'll crack the valves of each of the jets suggest that we start sending steam relatively equally to the whole firebox, and we'll watch the fire to see what it does. Look, you can see the little bits of coal. How fun is that? All right, we've gone far enough that we can close the cylinder cocks, and now you can see we're starting to get some back pressure. And we're going fast enough that we want to bring the reverser back up, bring the Johnson bar a little closer, save us a little efficiency. And big boy is on the move, ladies and gents. Here we go. This is a lot of locomotive to look around. Oh, look, we could have had a whole cab view. I didn't even realize that. Alright, well, I don't even know what our speed limit here is, but we're doing about 5. And our steam usage and generation, you can see, are pretty much holding right next to each other. But our water level's probably plummeting because we haven't started that, so we got to get that going. So let's pull open our exhaust steam injector so we can see how much exhaust pressure we have. And we'll start putting some water in the boiler here. Start with a mid-range value and see what it does. How cool is that? And you can see it articulate around the bend. Because this is a sharp curve right here, ladies and gents. Look at it. I don't think there's a curve this wide on the entirety of the ES&D, but that's why there's no big boys, right? So we're picking up a little more speed. It looks like the fire's not done anything too crazy yet, and I don't know if the fire door affects steam generation. Steam usage is just peaked because the safety valve opened. Oops. But it doesn't seem to make an effect, even though in real life it would. But we won't worry about that, so... Okay, well, the big boy started to do big boy things, and it's quite loud. So I've turned down the sound a little bit. Hopefully it's not too quiet. All right. We got the throttle wide open. And we're using less steam than we're making, so we'll kick the bar a little bit forward. Because we're trying to accelerate here. And now we're getting a little bit more power out of it. We're not making any piles in the firebox, and we're still keeping pressure up, that's for sure. Alright, we need a fair bit more water, though, so we're going to open this up pretty far here. We're going to give it wide open, see if we can't recover some, because the water level's dropped a little bit. And usage is still underneath generation, so we're still going to, I guess, keep wandering like we are. It's bizarre for me to be running this fast with the bar this far forward, because I'm actually at full. I guess we are in tonnage in a big boy. I've got the throttle wide open and the reverser all the way forward. Okay, now we can start bringing it back. I guess I don't have the track information of this. We are on a 1.1% grade, and we do have a 20 mile/hour speed limit. All right, that's easy enough. Our fire mass is increasing. You can see that. Not that you actually know that in a game, but... So we could probably dial back the stoker just a touch. And we're walking away with this ridiculous train. How cool does that look? This thing is about a zillion polys, so I'm surprised I'm even getting like 20 FPS right now. But look at how pretty it is. So much work went into this. I mean, every rivet and stable and... yeah. I'm not being a very good fireman because I keep popping the safety, which means I keep having to talk over it, which is annoying, but... oh, I didn't have the throttle wide open yet. Now I do. That's right, it shows 99% regulator. The F5 menu shows the steam chest pressure, not the actual pressure. I still got the safety valve popping, so I guess we could do this. Pump pressure, delivery pressure is 0. I don't have any set on the locomotive, do I? Is that what? Are we just bogged down? Is this hard of a climb that we just bogged down this bad? 1% grade, and we're slogging up it. I sure would love if the safety valve shut up. Alright, now we're picking up a little speed. Water gauge clogged. Oh, we've got a dynamic message for that. Let's open up some blowdowns till we find which one it was. Which is just a ploy to make me waste time, I'm sure. Alright, we're still losing water pressure, so I guess we're gonna pull the injector to prime here and force it. I don't think you have to do that in the actual simulation, but you'd have to with the real one. You'd have to go to prime and then force. We're not getting more water in the boiler is the problem. And now we are now we're working hard enough that we're losing fire here. So now we need to increase the stoker a little bit. See how quick that little change made. We starting to get a pile somewhere? Now we managed to, I mean, pretty even. It seems to be drafting pretty even right now, which is nice. Just wandering up the hill with, you know, a casual 4,000 tons of train. How cool is that? They really gotta add quilling whistles with this. Why am I still losing water? Am I missing a step in the water delivery system here? Is there like a starting valve that I'm missing? Live injector water. Well, you gotta turn the water onto the injector. Alright, that's fair. I didn't get a familiarization run on this locomotive, so... And part of the issue is that I've got the corner, I've got the Johnson bar all the way wide open with the throttle wide open, so we're using a crap ton of water. But I'm not using all the steam I'm making is the thing. And the steam chest pressure is like getting close to boiler pressure. That's pretty impressive. Which is telling me that I could probably ease back on my fire, even though I've got my fire mass is still increasing. I mean, we could probably just dial that back. Dial back our generation a little bit so that we get a chance to get more water into the boiler. So yeah, I can see where... Oh, that's a scarier looking thing than the percentage says. Bottom of the water glass. I don't think they have the slosh accounted for on the hill, but that would I would be pooping myself right now. Did we just slip? Oh yeah, we lost it right there. Can I watch myself lose it? Apparently not. Apparently it was just that spot in the track. Alright, for our own sake, we're going to I'm sure that signal was not red. Sure, it was green, and they turn red just when you get on the pretty close to them. Depends on where the insulated joint in the track is. Did I miss a starting valve or something for the darn exhaust steam injector? Oh, it's got to be that. Well, hang on. We've got some diffused water coming out there. Do you want it at 0? Oh. Did I have the control backwards? Couple casual slips as we die here. Alright. Let's get the sand going. Oh, that's the smokestack hood. We don't want that. Oh, go away. There we go. This is awful tonnage. If I had my stuff figured out earlier, we would have made it up to speed pretty easy, but... Maybe I have to close this now that I've opened the darn water valve. And now we can get some flow going. Or is it full flow is there, and then the further back you bring it is less? Because I refuse to believe that they equipped this locomotive with an injector that can't rapidly fill the boiler with water. It doesn't say what that is. Smoke lifter. Oh, that's right. We don't know what that is. Well, the fire still looks nice, which is nice. We're just gonna run out of water shortly here is all. What if we bring back the bar? Do we get any semblance of water level increase? The tender water level is not decreasing, I'm now noticing. Somebody's probably commented that. Okay, now it's decreasing when I do this. But that means that that this injector's not been doing anything. Will he run out of water? Oh, you can see we're starting to pile up in the back corner, in the back right corner. You see that? How fun is that? A dynamically simulated fire. So we need to turn down the jet for the right back. We'll turn it off even. And you know, we're going to shut this back because I am annoyed by the safety valve. It is just very loud. Well, I'm sure this is riveting gameplay, going 3 miles an hour up a hill. But this is tonnage on the grade when you don't get started fast enough or know what you're doing with the locomotive that well. Because we are wide the hell open in every way, shape, or form. We're still losing water. You can see that the tender water level's dropping by like a couple gallons per second, and it's still not doing it. It says spill. Are we trying to dump it in too fast? Is that what's going on? We have to get to a happy spot there based on the exhaust pressure we have. That's the thing about these Smokebox engines, is that there's so much to them that you really have to read the manual, but they're very quite well thought out. Well, you know what? To heck with it. If they're gonna make me have a boiler explosion, I'm gonna do them one better. And we're just gonna kick the bar into reverse. And we'll see where it comes off the track, ladies and gents. I've got a common theme to the ending of my videos, apparently. Locomotive ran out of water. I was trying to crash! Well, next time. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed me sort of knowing what I'm talking about as far as the controls of the big boy and got to enjoy seeing one. Maybe next time I'll figure out how to put water in it. And we won't bin it. So, yeah. Oops. Thanks for watching.